Welcome to the Pitmaster Podcast. We're barbecue competition competitors that aim to share information, advice, tips, and tall tales about our favorite pastime. Head over to the pitmasterpodcast.com for all things Pitmasters, or follow us on your favorite social media platform.
So typically that pellet grill is kind of like the gateway drug in a sense, where it gets them excited, gets them, going, but it doesn't take long for them to be like, oh shit, I'm just pushing a button and setting the temperature. I want to work with fire. Tell me about these cans, or tell me about these PK 360s, or tell me about this.
Here are the hosts of the Pitmaster Podcast, Rusty Monson, head pitmaster of Salt City Barbecue, and the two-time grand champion pitmaster of Smoke Ain't No Joke Barbecue, the Anthony Luan.
All right, Pitmasters, on the show today, we have Tony Roberts of Proud Souls Barbecue. Well, Proud Souls is a barbecue shop in Colorado, in Denver and Littleton, but also a very accomplished competition team. So we kind of get, a little bit of everything with them, with him. He's not a them.
Right.
I don't know. We didn't ask about his pronouns.
Right. Well, I guess they're a team. So them.
They, them.
They, them. They run stores together. They.
He, him. So anyway, last week, we had another issue with me being distracted in life. So that we had Anthony do some stuff with ThermoWorks. That's why the editing was a little different. So, but we thank Anthony for putting that together last minute and get it together. Something we wanted to do.
Right. We wanted
to do it, and we planned on doing it. So it wasn't just like, hey, do something. So it ended up working out. It was great to learn about what's coming out with ThermoWorks and stuff like that. But we didn't really catch up on our time down in Bullhead City.
God, here we go. Let's just get it out there, Rusty.
I just want to say this.
God. Go ahead and just say, get it done.
I couldn't lose pork. I just couldn't. That was my only goal, and I beat you on pork.
You did.
So
you did. You did good.
Let's put it this way, though. I don't know, because it just, if I couldn't do it. Like, could you imagine if you beat me in pork? How this?
Oh, it's gonna happen.
This would go.
It has happened
once,
a couple times. We might need to go to the.
I already did. Because I was preparing to lose. So I had compiled all of our comps together, and you beat me one time.
One time in pork only?
Yep.
We might look at the other categories. I got to figure this out.
So, but, fairly, to be fair, you don't compete a lot in the KCBS. You more yet do SCA. So there was just a couple, and they were a long time ago. But it was a fun competition. I really enjoyed it. I did vend, and I don't know if I'll ever do that again. That was hard. We had Zach Ashbrook from Barbecueless come down and help us out. Hopefully he learned a few things, but it was nice to have him and Brian down, and it was a really cool contest. I really enjoy that contest, although it's constantly windy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your team walked. I don't know how much hands-on you had, but your team took first place in appetizers, right? Is that what it was?
So Jared got a 180 in his appetizer.
Perfect score.
And I did nothing.
It came out of your trailer. You provided the trailer.
I provided the trailer. So he got a 180 in his appetizer, which was fantastic. It's actually, the recipe came from my wife.
Really?
Yeah.
So he should give the trophy to Kimmy.
You have to execute. Trophy or a recipe is one thing. Execution's the other.
All right.
But I was really happy for him. That was really fantastic. I mean, Jared's a fantastic cook, so I'm not surprised. But what I think was cool for us as a team is that we walked in Arizona for the first time ever.
Yeah. We
have gotten calls in every single competition we've ever been to, except for in Arizona. Well, the Kansas City International one, but we don't count that.
We don't talk about that one anymore.
But we've gotten calls in every single one except for Arizona, and that's in everything. So we finally got that call, and I was so excited.
Got the monkey off your back,
and we bombed in brisket.
That was good. Horrible. That brisket had great flavor, dude.
It was perfect.
I don't know how you missed on that. Really, it was good, great brisket.
I'm not worried about it. Because
it was Arizona, right?
Here, all due respect, Arizona cooks are amazing. Right. Some of the best cooks in the entire world are down there in the circuit. You got Kyle Matuszewski, you got Vernon Luton, you got Justin Caffini. All those guys are fantastic. They're so good. Phil the Grill. They got a very talented group down in Arizona.
Yes.
But the judges down there, I don't know how to please them. I'm not saying they're bad. I just don't know what they want. It's like a girl you go on a date with that doesn't say anything. You're like, I don't know. How was the date? I don't know.
Yeah.
How was she? I don't know. She didn't say anything. It's like that.
Maybe we're not gritty enough. Maybe we need to put a little bit of, like sand in there or something, give them some of that desert flavor.
Maybe some sagebrush. Maybe sagebrush. Cacti. Maybe cacti will do it.
Right. But I want to give a shout out to the Utah cooks that went out there on the SEA side.
Yeah.
5 out of 10 walked. Yep. From Utah.
Which is awesome.
Right? Took 50% of the field came back to Utah.
Yep. So the SCA down there, Utah was representing.
For sure.
Even some of the best Utah cooks didn't even get a call. So if they would have, like they normally do, it would have been even more. So
yeah, I took 23rd, but I would have top 10 if I would have got my tenderness.
I wasn't in your camp. I just didn't feel like your head was there from what I was there for.
What?
Yeah, you just weren't,
I was all in it. The whole time I was talking myself up. I'm like, I'm going to win this today. I was totally throwing it out there in the universe that I was going to win.
Okay. Wait, all right. The universe failed you.
Can't rely on that anymore.
Cannot rely on the universe. If you guys learn anything from this podcast, understand this. You cannot, the universe doesn't like you. Simply put. But I think what else is coming up? What else is going on? January's coming to a close. Not much is happening.
BBQ Las Vegas.
BBQ Las Vegas. Yeah.
Then we got, there's a backyard class in St. George, correct?
No, there's not a backyard class. There's a backyard comp.
Backyard comp.
Yep, that's coming up. That would be way down the road, though.
Yeah.
We do have some backyard comps coming up. I actually need to sit down and figure them out and get with the proper people. We have the places. We just don't have the dates. So I just need to put dates to them is all. So you should be able to see those backyard comps here in Utah happening pretty quickly for our Utah fans. And so other than that, man, I don't know. There's much. Just go to the Utah the state championship. For West Coast.
Yeah, actually, and visit Christy Van Over's website. She has the whole calendar of the West Coast competitions, KCBS and SCA.
Yep. Christy Van Over Girls Can Grow. That's such a cool tool. So if you are on the West Coast, and that's the 4 states that we kind of represent right now, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and California. So any comp SCA or KCBS or whatever is on that website. So you can go check that out, which is super cool to have. Other than that, we have a lot of cool guests coming up. That I will not be on the food truck for even today. Right. As you know,
I showed up at Rusty's house because I thought I was supposed to be here at 6. I'm still vetting. I guess I need dinner. So I'll just drive halfway through the Salt Lake Valley and go get some nachos, and it was worth it. It was really worth it. Good job, Rusty.
Thanks. We killed the nachos.
Yeah. You need a nacho ancillary to come up at the SCA.
We were actually going to do that as an appetizer instead of the one that he won. Was going to do a for version of those nachos.
They were good, really good.
Then we have award-winning nachos.
Yeah,
but yeah, they are good. But we have a lot of cool stuff coming up for you guys. So stay tuned, and just thanks for hanging out with us all the time. Yeah. It's cool to hang out with you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's just do this.
All right, guys. Here's Tony from Proud Souls. Enjoy.
We call it Thermapen 1, the first true 1-second cooking thermometer. Its unprecedented speed means Thermapen 1's responsiveness approaches the speed of thought. Because when you're plating the perfect menu or smoking the perfect side of barbecue, you don't have time to think about how your instant read thermometer is accurate to 0.5 degrees in 1 second or less, or how rugged and waterproof it is, or how big, elegant, and bright the backlit display is. You'll just know it works, because our perfection powers your perfection. Seek perfection with Thermapen 1.
Hi, this is Greg Rempe, host of the Barbecue Central Show, and you're listening to the Pitmasters Podcast.
All right, Pitmasters, on the show today, I have Tony Roberts of Proud Souls Barbecue. And Proud Souls is not only a competition barbecue team, but it's also a barbecue mecca. There's 2 in Colorado. So we have a lot of listeners in Colorado, as you guys probably know all about it, but some people don't. So we're here to talk about Tony about all the things when it comes to the shop and barbecue competitions. You know how we roll. Tony, how's it going, man?
Good, guys. How are you tonight? Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. Great. We're glad to have you too.
So, Rusty, before we get started, you have your food truck, and you got this custom license plate for your truck. It's really cool. It says
Right.
SCBBQ, right, for Salt City Barbecue.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. I think Tony had you beat with pulling Q.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's just pretty cool.
No, I straight up saw that today, and I was like, "What a jerk!" Like, why didn't I think of that?
Right? It's pretty epic.
I ain't gonna lie though. He's in Colorado. I'm Utah. I could totally do it.
You totally could. I have 801 BBQ on lock on mine.
Yeah, I put out that Instagram post last night. I thought it was fun, having just finished up our road trip down to Arizona, where we saw you guys, and then out to California, and then all the way back to Colorado. Had snow everywhere on the truck and trailer when we got back, and I just thought that was a cool picture. It's kind of summed up the road trip all in one with that license plate pulling Q with the on the Colorado plate. So
freaking brilliant.
It is.
It's not an easy task to come up. When you think, I'm gonna have this sweet ass personalized license plate, and then when it comes time to get one, you're like, I don't freaking know. Like, and then everything's taken, and you're like,
yeah.
So good for you, man. That's cool. That's a find. And I wish I had.
It's two things, right? It's pulling the trailer, pulling Q, which you guys know, literally pulling Q, and then it's also pulling the Q, right? So it works both ways. So
pull pork, sometimes pull chicken. Well, that said, man, so you own a place out in, like we talked about, barbecue shop, 2 of them. You also do competition barbecue. How long have you been in the competition barbecue game?
I got started in competition, actually cooking under the Proud Souls name in 2015. And that's kind of when we started the team. It was Dan Casey, my original business partner, along with myself. We went out and ventured to a contest here in Conifer, Colorado, which is a small contest. Unfortunately, no longer exists, which seems to be a trend here in Colorado, which we got to change. But went out there, and there's a gentleman you guys may have heard of named Jason Ganahl of GQ Barbecue. We went out to see him and kind of putz around his trailer, and it turned out that Dan and I made a vouch to each other that year we were going to come back the next year and cook under our own team name. And fast forward a year, we did that, had a great time. Actually took a walk in the brisket category, and from that point forward, man, we were hooked. As you guys know, it's one of those things that doesn't take much, but it just kind of stokes the fire. I'd always had an interest in barbecue, even as a kid growing up. I grew up in Missouri, on the east side of Missouri, St. Louis area. Where barbecue is still very prevalent, but that was one thing we always did as a kid. And on weekends, we barbecued, whether it was pork steaks, ribs. We had a Weber Smoky Mountain. We smoked turkey for Thanksgiving every year, and that's really, my roots in barbecue. I remember going back to that and learning that with my father and our neighbors and our family and our friends on weekends that revolved around cooking barbecue and watching baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals, and just creating memories around that. So when I got out here to Colorado, there wasn't a lot of barbecue, or there wasn't a lot of barbecue that I found to be prevalent per se. Not a lot of folks hosting, those backyard parties, that sort of thing, which always resonated me with a kid. So when I happened to stumble across competition barbecue, it just brought back all those memories of being a child and a kid, and like, holy cow, people actually are out here cooking these, events and taking it really seriously. And this is something I knew immediately I wanted to be a part of.
Right. It's really weird because just always growing up, I thought like Utah, Idaho, Colorado was never really had that barbecue culture built into us like all the other states. It seems like they've always had that kind of put into them. But I really like to see that those 3 states have definitely taken it on and actually doing really well, especially in the competition circuit. It's really cool to see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
10 years.
Yeah, and just in the short time I've been competing, 2014, 2015, roughly, I mean, 6, 7 years. I mean, I feel like the Rocky Mountain region, Colorado, obviously Utah, has really come a long way. There's some very talented cooks out here more importantly, very passionate cooks. I mean, I would put our area, some of the cooks and the passion that resides out here in the Rocky Mountains to any other region, Midwest, South, Southeast, West Coast, against anyone. I mean, I think they're very underrated. We don't get a lot of respect out here either as being a barbecue town or barbecue state or barbecue region. But I will say, being so closely tied to it with competitions, and now obviously my livelihood, I see it every day. So I see not only competition people, that's a small fraction of our business, but folks coming into our stores and asking questions and wanting to know, how they can get better or what they need to be doing. And they've stumbled across um, their neighbor who gave them this recipe that created a pork butt for the first time. They want to learn more. So we're really seeing. I like to see growth in barbecue in our region on a monthly, daily, annual basis, and it's come such a long way. And we've only, in my opinion, really scratched the surface of that.
Yeah,
Very true.
I mean, there's some, like you said, great teams. Chris Webb, as you know very well.
Yep.
He is third place in the nation right now, KCBS, out of Colorado. And
he is, and yeah, and he deserves it. I work with that guy every day. He's my other business partner. What he brings to the table on a daily basis, not only from a passion standpoint about working in the stores, educating our customers about barbecue, but how seriously he takes his craft and just how much he studies it, develops recipes and practices. I mean, that's one of the things we say all the time. There's you can't become a better cook unless you cook. You can sit there and watch all the forums you want and read everything you want, but until you're out there actually cooking, whether that's in your backyard, we do a lot. We're lucky we get to cook and sample a lot of things at work, just try new things. We do a lot of catering still. If we want to do a catering and run a new recipe or new technique, we can throw things at the wall that way. But really honing that craft and enjoying it and having fun and understanding that it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it never will be perfect. It's always a work in progress. But he's someone like that, that takes it seriously. And honestly, he's made me a better cook. He's made me a better business owner, and we work really well together.
Chris is the salt of the damn earth, man. That guy is something else. He's cool as hell. And if you see him, if you roll up to a contest and you see Bushmaster on there, just to pack your shit and just go.
Yeah, you better tread first. You better tread lightly. You may get offended in a way, but I'll tell you what. It's not an act, but Chris is one of a kind. He has a tendency to run hot and cold. A lot of people can catch him sometimes when he can be a little on the colder side, and he means no personal offense to it. I mean, honestly, he's so competitive. He's just there to win a contest. Yeah. He doesn't give a care in the world outside
can we talk about winning. His inability to walk up and get a freaking trophy fast? Did you see that in Arizona? He's winning all these things. He's just moseying, dude.
Right? Shaking all the baby's hands and everything on the way.
Think he's just like, freaking. Hey, Chris, I know you're listening to this right now. Just walk faster, bro.
That's all it is.
Just step in your step. That's all. You have everything else. Just need to get your ass up there and get that award a little faster. That's all I'm saying. But and so and having people on the West Coast, I mean, Rocky Mountain region, even like you said, there's a lot of people up and coming, a lot of people, and there's teams and there's some contests that are leaving and stuff. But I see kind of a little bit of a change with these new teams coming up, because a lot of these guys, especially in Utah, we had a whole bunch just pop up, man. Last year, you think, coming into the year, there was like, you knew everybody, and at the end of the year, you had like 5-6 new teams you didn't even know about, and I think if we don't like have these contests and we don't like give these guys their backyard concerts, do contests, it's going to go away. And like you said, contests are going away. And they're not coming back. They're going they're going away. Why do you think that's happening in our region? I'm sure it's happening everywhere, but it feels like you said more prevalent here.
Yeah, we got together and kind of looked at contests back from the early 2012 up until now, specifically in the Rocky Mountain region. And I was really disturbed by what I saw, just how many contests there once were and are no longer putting on events. it had to have been two dozen that have just gone by the wayside over the last 10 years, and that's a little disturbing to me. I think it's a combination of things. I think you're always going to have your contests that aren't very well supported, and that's if they're tied to an event or whatever it happens to be. I also think that in our region, and I've seen this over the last few years, a lot of the folks that put on contests are no longer live in Colorado. And unfortunately, they didn't do a good enough job of maybe building the bench strength there, or having, playing more of a mentor role to let someone pick up the slack for when they left. They kind of left the state due to job reasons, relocation. Maybe they just moved, as you guys know, Colorado, maybe like Utah is a very transient state. Maybe they just moved back to where they had come from. And unfortunately, along with that went the contest. So um, obviously money now too plays a huge role in it. I think a lot of organizers, I'm sure you guys see this, have these grandiose ideas that it's going to be a huge moneymaker for them. That it's going to be something that they can fund their charitable organization with, or they'll get a lot of folks from the town to come out. And that's not always the case, because they don't think about all what needs to go into the contest: tents, manpower, power, in general, the space. There's not a lot of space out here, specifically if you want to do an urban contest, which I'm sure is a similar in Salt Lake, where you can fit 30, 40, 50 teams in a parking lot that's not going to require you to, pay them. So they quickly realized that, holy cow, I thought I was going to raise maybe $5,000-$10,000 for charity. I'm actually putting on this event. I'm going to lose $5,000 or $10,000. I'll be lucky to even break even. And they and that kind of, maybe we won't do this next year. Maybe we'll look to do something else. We had a few events like that here that have canceled over years, and they've cut out the competition side, and they've just gone more to like a beer and band type festival, where you buy tickets to that, and the competition barbecue's gone to the wayside, and they may have a few vendors out and that sort of thing. So it's a troubling trend. I think we experience it more out here in the Rockies than say in the Midwest and more established areas of the country, where barbecue is really deep in the roots, and the contests have a track record of 10, 15, 20 years. But it's very hard to start a contest and get it off the ground, and keep it going year after year.
Right. I think competition barbecue almost needs to go back to the grassroots, because competition barbecues was always revolved around like a rodeo. A lot of people don't realize the American rodeo, or the American Royal, is a huge rodeo event. That's what brought the barbecue into it. Texas, that's connected to a rodeo. We used to have a huge one here connected to our state fair, and they had rodeos there too. I think it just needs to almost go back to the grassroots and start networking with those people again, and trying to get the crowds drawn back into it and get more interested in it as well.
That's true. But you know what really pisses me off that I'm thinking about it? Montana has like 4 contests and Utah has 1.
Right?
What the hell is Montana? No one even lives there.
Rodeos.
There you go. That's probably what it is.
Yeah,
those Montana contests are great.
I've competed in Montana. That Absorki contest is a lot of fun, and believe it or not, it feels like the whole state to come out to watch that and be a part of that event. And I know you guys have competed in that. You were up there last year, I remember. Chris went up there, but I competed in that a few years prior, and we had a blast. I couldn't believe the amount of people that came out for that event in that little town of Absorki. It felt like the whole state of Montana was there, but they were behind it. But Anthony, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's a long-standing festival or event that, with or without the barbecue, is still going to maintain itself and go on over time. And I think a lot of these contest organizers, or we need to think about when helping contest organizers, is try to tack it on to something that's already existing, that's successful, right? So Denver used to have the stock show. You guys, I don't know if you ever came down for the stock show event. It was always it was the kickoff to the KCBS season. It was always in mid-January, right around now, maybe a few weeks ago, down here at the stockyards downtown. Well, once COVID hit, they canceled the stock show. So they brought the stock show back this year, But unfortunately, they brought it back in a condensed fashion, and unfortunately, because I'm assuming the barbecue portion of that wasn't, something that was making them much money, probably losing money on that portion. Ironic, or they didn't unfortunately bring that portion of it back. So things like that. But looking for events like rodeos, like stock shows, beer festivals. Frisco does a huge event here. This will be the 27th year. Thank God it's coming back. We'll be up there, but finding these events that are long-standing, that can withstand themselves over time, that have a history and a track record of folks coming out to them and enjoying them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like Tomato Days.
Yeah.
Tomatoes Days is a hit. It's in a small town in northern Utah, and it's popping. That park is popping this year.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Right. So, and it's connected to a rodeo again. I'm just saying.
That's true. Hey, man, I'm down for it. I love rodeos. They're my favorite. I used to go to them all the time back in the day.
Well, you lived in Lehigh. That's all that was around.
It really was. Yeah. if you weren't in the rodeo or on the football team, you just weren't cool. That's just how it was. I wasn't cool. But I don't know. I think. See, I always think that starting like backyard comps. Are there a lot of those up in Colorado? Are you guys doing any of those, or is it just the cases that they have?
So I'll be honest, we started a fundraising event 4 years ago. We lost one of our good friends named Daniel Vogt, who was a judge. He was a rep. He was also a cook. This 4 years ago, we started an event, a backyard event. We just wanted to invite 15 teams that never cooked before, come out, cook some ribs in a parking lot. Maybe we'll throw an ancillary category in there, something like that. We've grown that event over the last 3 years up until this year. We had a great turnout. We filled 20 teams with that. We probably could have doubled the amount of teams that wanted to compete in it. We just didn't have space to host them. So we actually partnered with a local brewery called Living the Dream and invited these 20 teams out. And we had a great time that day. We raised money, over $10,000 for the American Cancer Society, and wrote a big check in Dan's name and honor. His family came out, and we just had a blast. But looking back at that, I remember Dan, Chris, and I kind of talking after that event, and just how successful it was. Is like, we need to find more ways to do events like this. They're almost like mini incubators in a sense of getting teams coming up, not only in a selfish way to shop at our store, but to also come in and talk barbecue, have a passion for it, and be the next cooks that are coming out on the circuit, that are going to Montana, that may be cooking in Frisco, Colorado, maybe going to Kanab, Utah, whatever it happens to be. So we take that pretty seriously. And the Rocky Mountain Barbecue Association, one of its goals this year, I sit on the board of that, is to really start cultivating more backyard events and seeing where we can take that, starting small with it and just seeing where it goes. So I know KCBS is really focusing on that. They're looking at it to the future, but I think it makes sense. And when you think about it, the reason it makes sense, and this is a whole nother topic at all, but just how expensive it is nowadays to go out and jump right into the pro circuit or the master series. I mean, when you're talking about buying these briskets, the pork butts, the ribs, everything that goes into it, a lot of folks now with COVID, they just may not have the resources, the energy, the time, whatever it happens to be. Let's go back to the base, kind of like what Anthony was saying. Let's throw one meat contest out there, see what they like. You don't have to come out and bring a big trailer. You can just bring a 10 by 10, a drum, and go about your business and be home that night with your family if you want to. So we're thinking about doing maybe more of those, not cooking in them, but promoting them, trying to grow the sport that way, and hopefully we'll get more interest there, which will in turn lead to more contests.
For us, we had a backyard contest. We started the backyard comps again with Jesse had the one still. And in that one contest in St. George, Utah, we produced 3 professional teams in 1 year. And I wish they wouldn't have gone pro yet. I wish they would have stayed where they are. Not that they're bad, because they're absolutely not. But I have a fear that they are going to do the one backyard and then jump into the pros and not do well, and or have it to be too expensive and quit. And it seems to me like, I'm sure that you sell an astronomical amount of pellet smokers at your stores, right? And
Yep.
just take 1% of those people, and 1%, which is still a lot of people, and tell them that they can cook a chicken and a rib, and have them do a contest, a backyard comp, and just keep it going. And just all those people, eventually the ones that want to do it will move on to the bigger stuff, and the others will just stay where they're at. And I really think that's where it's at. It's really about that backyard comp. And it's funny that you'll see more in the West Coast. You'll see more KCBS than backyards. And I think right now that needs to be opposite, because I think the only way we're going to grow this sport the right way is that we have these backyard competitions that people are going to, and we're facilitating those, and we're moving those. And then, we can have more competitions in Utah than Montana has, and stuff like that, because until people want to jump into that big ship and they have they're easing their way into it, it's just not going to grow. I don't think the way at all, be honest. I just don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I agree with you, Russ. You got to almost go back to the basics, break it down, start people slow. You don't want to intimidate them with necessarily cooking 4 meats all at once. You certainly don't want to intimidate them by going out to some of the contests we compete at and seeing some of the size of these trailers and the things that go on there, and just build their confidence, get them cooking really good food. And once they do that, it's recognized through maybe walking in a backyard contest or whatever it happens to be. Let them, take the ones that want to take the next step. We also talk to guys all the time that really have no interest in competing in barbecue, and that's fine too.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, I think you have to start small, especially in our region. We just don't have the following like they do in Kansas City, where someone can just walk in and all of a sudden jump into the Master Series within a matter of weeks. And have an opportunity to cook. There's just not that many opportunities to cook out here unless you're willing to travel.
I set a goal. I want a backyard team to represent Utah at KCBS, the international competition, and win it. That would be, oh man, that'd be the coolest thing ever. Right. Or hell, even like the Rocky Mountain region. It doesn't matter. I just think that'd be super cool, and I think it'd be fun for people to do that. And if you just take out brisket and pork and put some chicken and ribs in and have people cook it, anyone can do that. It's super fun, and they get to know the family part of it. And to be honest, at this point, it's cheaper than an SCA. So
I guess overall, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Probably. But anyway, moving on to barbecue stuff. The competition stuff. I mean, your competition team, I mean, you guys do quite a bit as far as the Rocky Mountain goes. You're averaging about 10, 12 contests a year. And I remember when I first started 2018, you guys were like on fire. You guys have been, so every time you guys show up to a contest, it's it's like, ooh, crap, and so, which is cool. I like that kind of competition. It's super cool to have big teams coming out. But what is it that you think made that leap for you? What was the moment where you feel like, okay, well, I'm not doing so great, what are we doing here? What changed for you to go from when you first started to doing so well and getting all those calls eventually? I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the question out, but I'm getting all flummy. What was the change? What do you think happened there? Like, what was the thing you learned or something like that kind of clicked in you?
Well, I think I became just consistent, and I started to follow a program. So when I first started out, we were just a hodgepodge group. We'd bring a Weber Smoky Mountain out. We bring a pit barrel. I had a pellet cooker, and we did that for 2 contests. Well, then we started, doing a catering operation, but you can't obviously do a catering operation doing anything on competition pits. So that led me to buy a big, large offset stick burner down in Texas, a reverse flow, and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Well, I can compete on this, but I can also cater on this. So did that for a couple of years. Finally started to hone that in. Then it was like, well, I don't necessarily want to do the catering anymore. So this has to go away. I need to find a way to travel lighter. And then brought in another stick burner and 2 cans, and then cooked on that for a year. And now I'm just cooking on 4 cans. I'm just like, I'm over this. I'm just going to do competition for competition's sake. We have another pit that's just for catering's sake. But it was an evolution in a sense. But I think once I finally started to work on a program and with the pits I had and what we were running, that's when the scores started to go up and the consistency started to stick in a sense. I'll admit I still got a long way to go there. I think I still struggle with consistency, as every great cook does. That's one of the hardest things, because you're cooking in a new location every week. The elevation may not be the same. The elements may not be the same. It may be cold out there one day, you guys know. But the consistency, and with consistency, is just cook more, cook more, cook more. What do I got to do to know this inside and out? That sort of thing. So knock on wood, I think I'm finally have my program figured out, sticking with the 4 cans specifically for the 2022 season. And I'm hoping to make some noise in the competition circuit just doing that. But you're right. I mean, through 2018, and then I hit a lull, kind of with Chris and I were talking about that in California, a large lull, until I even hit another RGC back in Casper last fall. And it finally felt like, okay, good. I finally, I think I'm back to what the food I was producing before on the old program prior to this. And I'm sticking with what I got now, and I'm just looking to roll that way.
Because I remember when we started out, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are known for doing certain thing, and if I remember correctly, it was brisket for you guys. And what's like, let's talk brisket. How's that? That's the most intimidating, I think, for everyone. And everyone's like, oh, I'm so scared of brisket. And it's funny because, in my opinion, brisket's definitely the scariest and it's definitely the hardest, but it's also the easiest once you get it figured out. Once you get that program dialed in, it's like, brisket. Yeah, brisket.
Right.
You never want to settle, obviously. You want to, you're never like comfortable with it. But what are some like tips and tricks you can give people for competition brisket that they might not know?
Oh, well, man, there's a lot, but I'll tell you what, in my opinion, when I was really scoring high in brisket, those were the years I was using that reverse flow pit out of Tyler, Texas. I mean, that thing cooked the mean brisket. And honestly, I wasn't trimming it nearly as aggressive as I do now. I was almost doing like a partial separation with the flat and the point, and kind of laying them on top of each other, and cooking it that way. Now on the can, I'm doing a full separation. I'm cooking the flat and the point, obviously, as you guys likely do as well, separately. And your window when doing that really tightens up. You don't have as big of a window to get it just right as when I was cooking the large, 22 plus full packer briskets, partially separated on a big Texas offset. So I miss that cooker, honestly, for brisket. I say all the time, I wish I could still cook brisket on that. Cooking it on a can is a lot different, but I've created some great briskets on the can. I think one of my biggest things, and what I tell people, is do what feels comfortable to you. I see a lot of, we call it copy and paste barbecue at the stores a lot, just because I'm trimming or separating a brisket and cooking the flat, separate, and I've trimmed it down to, 7 inches, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do that, right? And I think a lot of people screw themselves up as they overthink it. They may get on these forums, or they may see box pictures on Facebook, and they're like, oh my God, the brisket is perfectly trimmed. How do they do that? But they don't know how to trim the brisket down to 7¼ inches. So right out of the gate, they've shot themselves in the foot. So I would rather see people, again, talked about basics in backyard. Stick when they're just getting out and brisket cooking, stick to the basics. You don't have to partially separate the brisket. And in fact, I know this because I've seen teams that aren't doing it walk. They're just cooking full packers and basically slicing it slicing it up, blocking it on both sides, putting it in the box and walking with it, and it's working. So I think sometimes my biggest nemesis, at least in brisket, and what a lot of people I talk to, both in competition and backyard, is just overthinking it. And you kind of nailed it, Rusty. It says once you figure it out, it kind of be like, oh, well, it's not very intimidating, but I think people just trip themselves up by overthinking it all the time.
Yeah, 100%. It'd be quite an arsenal if you were to bring that offset in your barrels and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we need about 4 trucks with pulling Q license plates to pull that one off.
Here comes the crowd soul parade.
But honestly, I look back at that. Owning 2 stores, I had to. I learned how to compete on just about anything. We sell every type of pit in the store. I mean, from pellet smokers to drums, to charcoal grills, to offsets, gas grills, you name it. I always say, doing that over all those years, I think it'd be fun just to show up at a competition and you don't know what you're going to cook on, and you're just awarded a smoker at the cooks meeting, and they say, okay, here's your smoker, have at it, and you just pick a number between 1 and 25, and you get the Weber Smoky Mountain, you get the cans, you get the offset, and it just go about it that way. I always thought that would be a blast because I feel like I've cooked on everything. This would be fun.
That would be cool. We actually kind of did something like that at ThermoWorks once.
Yeah, we did.
It was way fun. So you got to pick a protein that you had to pick. Like, I don't know if it was like a draft of some kind.
Yeah.
And then you had to go out and pick a smoker to cook it on. So I got rabbit, and I picked the Primo grill or something like that.
Right.
Nice.
And something like that. That was freaking cool.
That was fun.
That's something I agree. Like that would be a cool contest if we just did it backyard style, like here's the cookers, and you get a number, and then number 1 goes and picks theirs, and number 2 goes and picks.
What about just having have some pro teams show up, and they set up their stuff, and then the backyard guys just go in, they draw a number like, okay, you're in tent 1, and whatever that setup is, you got to roll with it.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I think that'd be way fun. Right? Actually, I should look into that.
Pitmaster should do that.
I'm the same way. Like I cook on a lot of things. My experience with the restaurants and the competitions and whatever. So I think that'd be really fun. That's fantastic.
I have a question for you just with the store. So you probably see customers come in and they're like, okay, I want to get into barbecue. I want a pellet grill. So they go and buy a pellet grill. Do you see them the next summer trying to jump into the charcoal? Do you see them kind of like, hey, I want to get into real fire? Do you see that often?
Yeah, all the time. It's one of our best kept secrets, or dirty little secrets we talk about at the store. We sell you one grill. About 40% of the time, that person will come by and buy a second or third grill from us. So it's not uncommon at all. And folks realize it when they're just getting into cooking and into barbecue, that there's no one grill that does everything great, right? So typically that pellet grill is kind of like the gateway drug in a sense, where it gets them excited, gets them, going, but it doesn't take long for them to be like, oh shit, I'm just pushing a button and setting the temperature. I want to work with fire. Tell me about these cans, or tell me about these PK 360s, or tell me about this outlaw patio smoker you guys got here, whatever it happens to be. I've got the idea now on the recipe side. Now I want to play with fire, and how do I do that and that sort of thing. So not uncommon at all. Great question. A lot of our customers own multiple grills, multiple pits. A lot of our customers, believe it or not, they'll own a pit for a year, they'll sell it on Craigslist and come back and say, I want something new. It's not uncommon at all. So yeah, a lot of our folks at both stores are longtime customers of ours that have bought numerous barbecue pits from us, and they've taken a lot of our classes, and they come in, they buy meats from us. We sell meats as well. So we kind of do the whole full gambit. And I know a lot of the folks by name. We all do. And that's one of the coolest things to see, is when you see a customer come in that that you just gave, some tips and tricks to, or a recipe to, and they come in, a week later and say, thank you so much. That was the best rack of ribs I've ever cooked in my life. My family enjoys it. what can I do next? And that to us is the ultimate compliment, and why we do what we do. We love it. I mean, it doesn't even feel like work sometimes when you go in and you have these folks coming in asking us questions and just talking barbecue all day. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to be like, wow, is this really work? But it can be a lot of fun when we're seeing these repeat customers over and over again. It's a true testimony to the business, and obviously all the guys that work at Proud Souls that are doing such a great job just educating all of our clients and customers.
Well, it's quite a quite a staff, especially with Chris, and you guys being there. It's pretty crazy. I
Right.
mean, but you guys literally can do this. This could be a day, Tony. Tell me could be a day at your job. You go to work, you're like, I've got Casper, Wyoming coming up. I'm gonna go over to the meat locker there and pull out some meat, and I'm gonna take some Big Papa Smokers Sweet Money off the shelf, and I'm gonna grind that up and add some stuff to it, and I'm gonna practice my competition ribs. Is that something you can do in a day?
Yeah, we do it a lot. But typically we don't pick it out of our freezers for retail for sale. Typically, we're lucky enough, like a lot of these restaurant owners, when the meats come in before they even go into our retail freezers or fridges, we get to select what we like first. So we set those aside, and then they go into our special fridge or freezer in our kitchen area. And then when those days come around and we want to practice, and a lot of our practicing honestly is for sampling for customers. So we'll take something, a Big Papa Smoker Sweet Money rub or whatever, and a rack of ribs, and we'll use that to sell the Sweet Money rub and the ribs, and maybe some Blues Hog sauce or whatever it happens to be. Throw it on there, and typically folks have one bite of that, like, holy cow, how did you make this? I need to know. I need to buy the ribs. I need to buy the rub. I need to buy the sauce, and sure enough, we can sell a lot of the product that maybe sits on the shelves a little bit longer. So typically when we do those samplings, we're strategic about it, both from a recipe development standpoint for competition, but hey, we got a lot of this in inventory right now. We need to get rid of it. A great way to get rid of it is to cook 6 racks of ribs this Saturday and let people sample them for free. And I can guarantee you half of this stuff's going to be gone by the end of the day.
He forgot to he left the part out. He's like, you won't get this flavor unless you buy this smoker.
Yeah.
Smoker, that flavor. You have to buy this smoker and then the other stuff.
Yeah, true.
So you guys are selling Outlaws up there, right?
Yeah, we sell the Outlaw patio model. We've had a lot of success with that. So we're on the phone with Jay Craig quite a bit, going to and from Indiana to grab those. But we brought those on, I'd say about 2 years ago. We were one of his first customers to get a dealership agreement in place. And they've been great partners. Jay's awesome to work with. The coolest thing about that is we're starting to see not only the Outlaw patios that we sell in our store, but a lot of folks here in Colorado have gone to Jay to have a larger stick burner built for a porch model or something like that. So I think you guys see a few Outlaws up in your neck of the woods, I know.
See a ton.
Yeah, but he does a great job. He makes a great product. I can't speak highly enough about him, his organization, and the product he makes. But it's a fun cooker. That little patio 24 by 40 is a lot of fun to cook on, but they're even more fun to sell. I mean, we sell those guys come back in and they're like, holy shit, this is the best smoker I've ever owned by a landslide. And we're like, told you.
I want one really bad. In fact, our teammate Brian wants one real bad. I'm like, you should go drive up there to Colorado. Proud Souls. Go grab yourself one. He's trying to talk to the wife. I'm telling him, like, just go buy it. It's better to ask for forgiveness than it is, to ask for permission.
Yeah.
So just roll in, just like, you used to do when you were a kid with a cat. It's like, just got this freaking cat, like, got the smoke, What are some of like common questions you guys get asked up there at the store? Like, is there like some questions you guys get asked all the time at nauseum? Just all the time, that one day, like, what's
good on brisket?
Yeah.
What tastes good on pork?
What is it?
Oh man, we get some of the crazy questions. I mean, you have to realize a lot of our customers are just starting out, so you can only imagine some of the things they ask us. I think the biggest question or the myth folks always come in, what draws them in is brisket questions. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, so I'm doing my first brisket ever. Anything you can help me with? And we kind of start with, where they got the brisket, if they want, how they're planning on cooking it, wrapping to not wrap, that sort of thing. And obviously, as you guys know too, cooking at elevation is a different animal, man. A lot of these recipes these guys read or that are in the apps for their pellet cookers, just pound and pound and pound that 285 and or 225 and below for 18 hours. And I'm just honest with folks. I'm like, you can't do that, and they're not on that pellet smoker, and that you don't want to run it at 180 for 18 hours. I'm telling you right now, take our advice, crank it up. You may want to wrap it. You may want to put some braising liquid in here. And they look at us like we're crazy. And then I'm like, trust us. This is why we opened the store. That app recipe you're reading is garbage. You can do that if you want, but I'm telling you, you'll have better success when you do this. And kind of like what I went back and said before, then you see that guy walk in the next week and he's like, I'm so glad I didn't follow that app. Exactly what you guys told me to do turned out perfect. I wouldn't have changed a thing. Thank you so much. And we're like, yep, definitely didn't want to do that 180 for 18 hours before cranking it up to 225 for another remaining 6 hours. So
I remember,
but
I did classes like that too, and they're like, okay, well, you start your gateway and it's ready in 15-20 minutes, and I'm like, cool, all right, guys, write that down. 15-20 minutes. It cooks for this long. Great. Cooks for this long. Wrap it in this. Awesome. Wrap it in this. And we go, and none of that works. The 15 is 30-40 minutes. The wrapping dries it out. There's no moisture. It's just like all this crap, and you're just like, man, no one takes account for this elevation. And I tell people that all the time, like wrap it in wrap it in foil and put some moisture in it. Well, that's not what Aaron Franklin does. Aaron Franklin lives at like below zero. Like it's a whole new ball game down there, man. You can't even think about that. You're 4,500 feet in the air. Like that's the difference, man. It's definitely a different game up there.
It's a different animal, and like I said, when folks are just getting into barbecue, we have folks that they're just recipe cooks, and I get it. I mean, recipes are great to follow, but they don't understand the feel of barbecue and the processes behind it. So they're trying to read these recipes that are just they're not made for cooking it at 5280 or in the high country here, or in Salt Lake or whatever it happens to be. And then they get really frustrated, and it's just like, listen to us. That's why we're here. This is why we opened the store. We want to educate people on how to become better cooks and what they need to think about, especially in our climate here. All of our classes, we always start our classes. We've probably done 100 backyard classes or more. And we always start the class talking about knowing your cooker, number one, and knowing number two, your elements. And your elements here in Colorado are different. So throw out everything you know about barbecue, come here with an open mind, listen to what we have to say. That's all we're asking. You don't have to try it, but we're telling you right now, you may have a better chance of success if you listen to us in this class and keep an open mind here about some of the crazy things we're going to be talking about when it comes to elevation cooking. And it's amazing. People, typically do have open minds and they try it and they're like, you're right. It's different. But not only is our elevation, but the dew point levels here are zero. It is so dry here. I mean, you could go to South Texas, Florida, whatever it happens to be, the Panhandle. I mean, it's 100 or Missouri, where I grew up in the summer. There's 100% humidity every day. Well, what do you think the difference is between that is 100% humidity and a dew point level of zero? I mean, we're basically in the arid desert here, so you got to keep that into consideration too. We're at 5,280 feet. We're in an arid desert with no humidity. I mean, it's not going to be as simple as what you may have read in that little recipe, or to be honest, what a lot of other folks who cook barbecue in other regions of the world have it a lot easier than we do. I always feel like we have to struggle and work a little bit harder to get the most out of the products and the proteins we cook.
Right. I have a few tips that I always tell people right out the gate. I'm like, first of all, just throw your clock out the window. We're not even going to worry about time, because I was like, how long? Throw your clock out the window. Then first
open the window.
Yeah. Open it first. But then cook to color, wrap, cook to temp, set yourself a good low temperature, and then start feeling for tenderness when it's wrapped. And then you'll get good barbecue. At least that's how, in the higher elevations, that's how I tell people all the time. Well, how long does it take? What did I just say?
It's the only way
Get rid of the time.
When we cooked Hill City, that finished at 195. I've never had a brisket finish at 195 my entire life, you know, and it sat at 195 for 3 hours, you know. It's like that. The water there boils at like 200 degrees, you know. It's not even the same thing. It's dry. The water boils faster. Like that moisture will suck out quicker. It's just, you know, there's so many variables up here.
Yep.
You know,
there are. Yeah.
When someone comes up here and they cook, and you know, and I like it. I like being up here. And again, that's why we need more competitions here, Tony.
Maybe people are scared to come here.
We need like home field advantage.
No, absolutely, 100%. I know you guys are big ThermoWorks fans, and we are too. But one of the things we always teach in our class is don't read what the ThermoWork tells you. So we always I literally will have 25 people in class. We'll have briskets on you know, the cookers, and we'll take 3 thermopens and have everyone come up and actually feel what a probe tender brisket feels like. And I say, don't worry about what the temperature reads. If it feels like this is what you're shooting. This is what you're shooting for. If it feels tight or stiffer than this, it needs more time. If it's just totally blowing through this and there's just no resistance at all, you know, it's time to get it off and it's done. And people are amazed by that. They're like, oh, I'm always looking at the temperature and I never know what temperature it's done because it always says something different. Now I understand. And it's like, yeah, you need to understand what the feel of a doneness is, both on a brisket, on a pork butt, even our rib classes. We have people probe between the bones. That's a little bit harder to feel, but it's one of those little subtle things where if somebody learns that and they're not reliant on an actual temperature, chances are they're going to get a very good chance of getting it right, or they should, hopefully, if we taught them properly.
Real fast though.
All right.
I have 4 thermopens.
4.
Okay? One for SCA, one for KCBS. I just got my thermopen 1, and one that doesn't work. Guess which one's my favorite?
The one that doesn't work.
The one that doesn't work. My wife's like, "That's one that didn't work. Why do you use them?" Like, it's perfect. I don't have to worry about it. I just probe it, and I can put the rest where I need it. I just go out and just probe until it's probe tender. I don't need it to show me anything.
I got to correct you a little bit there, Tony. Just a little bit, not much. I'm on the same page as you, but you got to rely on the ThermoWorks products on your leave-in thermometers. Just set those temperatures. Let your leave-ins go. That way, you're not opening the pit, checking it. Trust your leave-ins. Like if you're doing a brisket, set it for 190. When it hits, then that's when you can start playing with it. That's when you can start going for probe tenderness.
Well, you also need to have them because you'll forget. Like
exactly.
You want to put them in there so 195 you can start probing, because there's a time where you got to go over to the Proud Souls camp with Bushmaster and start kicking their barrels over and stuff like that. And there's a time you need to do that. Yeah, and you need to step away. You know?
Yeah,
exactly. But like just like Tony said, don't look at the temperature when you're coming to the end of your cook. You're looking for that probe tenderness every single time, and you'll hit a quality product every single time. But do you rely on your ThermoWorks leave-ins and thermopens as well? But
I love thermopens.
You nailed it, Anthony. You nailed it.
My favorite is the one that doesn't work. Doesn't mean anything. I love them all. They're great, but that one that doesn't work is just nice. You know, it's just nice. I know it's
everyone's got their favorite. I still have an old one that's in a color gray, an old color gray that I don't even know if they make that same color gray anymore. I haven't even put a new battery in it, but that's the one in my competition box. That's the one I use just because I like it and it feels right and whatever. I've got like 5 other ones brand new, but I never even use them. I just go to that same old one that I still haven't changed the battery in, and it worked great.
And mine doesn't work, by the way, because I left it out in the snow.
Here's the little ThermoWorks plug though. It doesn't matter. You might have one that doesn't work. You might have one that works. You might forget one, but you can always borrow your buddies, and you can rely on that equipment to be solid every single time.
It's don't ever touch my mic. No.
Yeah.
No. Hands off my ThermoWorks.
What? You wouldn't let me borrow your thermopen?
Hell no.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
because you'll unlock it. It's a lucky thermopin. You'll unlock
well,
it.
what about your other 3? What
That's
did you?
fine.
Yeah,
Just don't touch the red one.
And then but I can rely on that equipment.
You could,
See,
if I would allow you to.
but I would never leave the house without mine. So
No,
simple as that.
so we could go so many directions, but I want to kind of take it back to the store. So let's just talk about just for a second, like what prompted you to open up a store, like a barbecue shop? What was the main driver for that?
There was nowhere to go. So when I grew up in Missouri, there was always, a hardware store or a few smaller barbecue stores back then where I could go and look at products, sample things, touch, feel, whatever. I got out here to Colorado. I moved out to Colorado about a little over 15 years ago, and there was nothing. And it was hard to find any product. So I constantly found myself going online to say Big Papa Smokers, Barbecue Superstore, whatever it happened to be, and ordering products. And then everyone kept saying you should open a restaurant. Your food's so good, blah blah blah. I'm too old to open a restaurant. Believe me, I worked in some kitchens in my life. It's fun, but it's not something that really interests me. We would do some catering gigs. I had a full-time job, and that was kind of doing it for me from a satisfaction standpoint. And then it just kind of dawned on me one day, like, you know what? I can't be the only one out here looking for barbecue products. There's got to be more people here, transplants, whatever, even natives of Colorado that would love a barbecue store to go into, to talk to somebody, number one, to have a plethora of grills, smokers, seasoning, sauces, accessories, meats, you name it, at their fingertips. So I was working a full-time job at the time, have a family. Dan, my business partner, I was, lucky to have him. He was on my comp team. I kind of told him, "Hey, man, I got an idea here. I think this can work." And he was kind of in a job where he wasn't, 100% happy. He's like, "You're right, man. I think we're onto something here." And we just said, "F it, let's do it." No regrets. We can always go back to doing what we're doing. And that was a little over 5 years ago, probably 6 years ago now, when we put together that business plan and took the leap of faith. And I'll tell you what, there were some sleepless nights. It wasn't always what it is now. We're very lucky, but we worked very hard to get where we are. I always tell the story that our first day in business, it was me and Dan there. We had just opened the store. We didn't have a ton of inventory, but we had a decent amount of stuff in there. And we opened on a Tuesday for whatever reason. I can't remember. I think our original opening date was delayed just because of permitting and a bunch of, stuff you never think about when you come up with great ideas, that, the government and towns and all this and that need to come in and give you license and whatever. So we were delayed, and it was just like, we got to get open. We're just bleeding money here. So we finally opened. It was on a Tuesday. And I remember I stayed up Monday night, and I was like, how many pork butts should I cook? Or should I do ribs? So, yeah, I'm going to do pork butts and ribs. So I cooked like 6 or 8 racks of ribs. I cooked like 4 pork butts, and we opened it at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. And we had, guess how many customers come through the door?
2.
I'm going to say 0.
We had about three people come through the door, 2 of which were friends of ours.
Oh, nice.
And I had a buffet set up with 4 pork butts and 8 racks of ribs and whatever, and sauce. And I think Dan made some coleslaw and some homemade pickles. And I went home that night and I said, holy shit, we're open now, but now the work really starts. Not that we weren't working hard then. And I'll tell you what, that first 9 months was a grind. Everything we did was just get the word out. How do we spread the word? What events do we need to do? We need to throw some classes. We would throw classes, and might get nobody to sign up. We would invite friends in and say, just come listen to our class, just to give us pointers and see how we're doing. So then when actually people sign up for the classes, we're not going into this cold turkey. And we had some friends come up and drink some beer and hang out. And went through that for about 9 months or so. And then finally, something clicked. We signed on a contract with Yoder smokers. It was one of the things that, you know, I was passionate about, was getting Yoder in the store. And I think I called Joe Phillips, the owner and the president of Yoder, every day during that 9-month span. We didn't have Yoder in our store. And I'm like, Joe, left him voicemails, left him voicemails every day. And finally, he returned my call and said, "Tell me your story. Why should Yoder be in your store?" I had a great conversation with Joe. About 48 hours later, he called me and he said, "Congratulations, you have our brand in your store now. We look forward to working with you." And it seemed like after that, just everything changed. It was not only, and I think it was just the fact we had been in business for about 9 months, but we also got Yoder in. Word was starting to get out, and at that point, it just started clicking for us. And kind of took it from there. So that's kind of the story and the genesis behind the start. But it it's hard work even today, man. We go to work, we work hard. You never know. There's no givens any day. I'm lucky to have a great team. Dan, Chris. We brought Chris in about 2 years, 3 years ago now. 2 years into the business, I met Chris. He actually set up next to us at a competition. He had just gotten out of the army, and we hit it off. You know, Chris, he's easy to make friends with, so we kept in touch. Um, he moved back to Texas, and I actually called him and I said, "Chris, we're growing. I would love you to come work with us." He's like, "I don't know, I don't know about that." And I was like, "Chris, it's barbecue. We get to work together. You'll love it." I don't know." And kind of got off the phone with him. And I told Dan, I said, "I don't think he's going to take the job." And Dan said, "Let's see what he says." He said he'd get back to us, and he ended up calling back 48 hours, and he said, "I'll take the job. I can't work to start with you guys." And he's been a behemoth for us. I mean, we brought him on. We were able to open the second location. He runs that now. Dan runs the first. I kind of oversee everything, but Chris has just taken it running and grown that store, and we're off and running, man. So we got a great team behind me, Dan and Chris. Those guys come to work every day, work their butts off. But it's fun. It's a passion. But yeah, we fight for everything we can get, and we want to be the best. We want to be the best barbecue store in the Rockies. There's no doubt about it. We have mission statements in our kitchens that say "Work like a champion." We do everything possible to be the best. We want to be the best for our customers, the best customer service. We want to have the best selection. We want to have the best employees. And that just trickles down on a daily basis. And I get to work with the best guys there are in the world. And I couldn't be, luckier, to be honest with you.
That's cool.
Heck yeah. Great story.
That's way cool. That'd be scary, man.
Right?
You get opening day. You're like, we're screwed. I'm screwed. Oh man. But
my wife's gonna kill me.
What did I do? What did I do? I think, having a store like that, I wanted to do it at one point. I thought it would be really, really cool. And now I'm on the food trailer. God, I wish I did. I'm too old for a food trailer, I decided. 44. I'm old. I'm too old. Anyway.
You selling already? You sell the brand?
What so what's like a process? Because when you open a store like that and you own it, you just kind of allow anyone to just say, "Hey, I have a product, let's sell it." What is how do you go about figuring out who comes in your store, what kind of products you're selling? What kind of process is that?
Well, I think it's both ways, right? And I think was one of the bigger surprises to me when we opened the first store, as I thought anyone I called was going to be like, "Oh, sure, yeah, you can represent my product and sell it and put it on your shelves." That was not the case. I mean, I use Yoder as an example, but that was one example. I remember I had to fight for our Traeger contract. I had to fight for basically every smoker line we have, or grill line almost, we have in our store. I mean, no one nowadays, especially. I mean, I think, and they do that. It's twofold, right? I mean, selling the products, I would not want a dealer to open up, a block or 2 blocks away from me, and be selling the same product. So they do it to protect their dealer network, which is great now that I'm in. At the time, it was a struggle, but they also realize that these companies are large corporations, right? I mean, you guys obviously know Traeger being in Salt Lake. That's their brand. So you would think about it from Salt City. Um, your brand being in the hands of someone else. Well, how are they going to treat your brand, right? You don't want someone fly by night jokester that you don't know anything about that may be telling customers that come in to buy your brand that, who knows what about it, or if it's, this and that. So there's definitely a vetting process there. And it works both ways. There's a vetting process on our end too. I can't tell you how many times uh, on a daily basis we have someone walk in the store or a phone call or a letter in the mail or an email, with a new product they want us to sell in our stores. It works both ways. And I always say to the guys, we want to be dealers of products, right? We don't want to be an extension of the sales team. If I'm an extension of the sales team, I'm just basically doing you a favor. What I want as a store is to be a dealer of products. I want folks coming in for whatever particular product it is. So that means you're out there marketing, you're out there hustling. People want to buy it. They go online, they see that they can buy it at Proud Souls Barbecue. They can come in and buy it already educated on the product, what it happens to be. And I'm here to sell it to them and talk to them and work with them on that. So I think a lot of the folks that call us, one of the first things I say is, well, let us look at it first and obviously utilize it and see if it's something we're going to stand behind. We're not going to sell something we don't believe in, right? That's not what we would ever do at Proud Soul. So we want to believe in the product. But then, like I said, I don't want to sell products where folks expect us to be an extension of their sales team, because right then it doesn't seem to work out. So it goes both ways, especially now that we're established. But we love to sell quality stuff, man. I mean, you guys know there's a lot of junk now in the barbecue market and things to weed through. So if folks are coming in our store, obviously there's a trust factor there, right? I want them to leave the stores and have a great experience and go home and be able to use a product and be like, wow, this is a great product. This is something that is going to last. It's something I'm going to utilize a lot. It's something that's making me better. I don't want to sell anyone a product that they go home and it's a piece of crap and it breaks, and then they're calling us or they're like, wow, those guys sold me a lemon of a grill or whatever it happens to be, a lemon of a wireless thermometer or whatever it happens to be. So we always keep that in the back of our mind that folks shop with us. They have a lot of options and they can go online and buy a lot of the products, but they shop with us because of the trust. They want to come in and they want to learn and they want to be serviced and have a nice experience. There's a lot of options. So that is always at the preface of what we do and what we say is customer service first and foremost. We are going to treat our customers right, and you can trust us to put you in the right products that you are going to be happy with. And we promise, if for whatever reason you're not, we'll make it right.
It's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you guys got a killer ass logo. I think that's important too. I mean, you didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't believe the newest story on the logo, but yeah, we developed that logo about 6 years ago, but I filed for a trademark on it about 18 months ago, and there was an objection, and that's finally just kind of settled out. But a large university, you may be able to figure out who that is, didn't like the trademark, and they want me to change it now. So that
Really?
unfortunately could be something that ends up in a court or who knows what. But at this point, I'm over it. They've been a thorn in my side now for 18 months, so it's getting a little
Listen,
ridiculous.
people, just because you suck at football doesn't mean you have to take it out on people.
I didn't say what I never said what university it is. I mean,
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
I can smell them from here.
You can see it in the logo.
Smell it from here. Well, man, we could chat about this stuff all day.
Right.
I really could. But we want to just thank you for coming on the show.
Yes.
and hanging out with us. This was freaking fun. This was great. We'll have to do this for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Yeah, really appreciate being on and getting to know you guys, especially. I hope to get to know you both better, and we find ourselves at some contests this year for sure. Wherever that may be, we're going to be out and about in the Rockies. So we'd love to hopefully see you both out.
Hopefully we can win you some more money, Tony.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was money, right? That was great. Yeah.
Help you pay for your trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys are out in the Colorado area or passing through or anything, that stop at Proud Souls is kind of your one-stop shop, even for just competition, because you can get your meat there, you get your all your stuff there, and obviously some freaking knowledgeable people, some winning teams, some guys who really go out there and kick ass on the circuit and know their stuff, and you probably are in really good hands up there in Colorado, guys. So if you guys are out there and you haven't, because you're weird, been to Proud Souls yet and you live in Colorado, give it a shout. Just give it a stop and hang out with you. You guys have one in Denver and one in Littleton, you said?
Yeah, one in Denver, just north of Mile High Stadium at 25th and Federal, and another one south suburban location in Littleton, Colorado.
Yes, I got that right.
Good job, Rusty.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. I can still hang.
Yep.
The old guy can still hang. All right, Tony. Well, we'll see you soon, man. I'm sure we'll see you out on the circuit real soon, somewhere up in the Rocky Mountains.
I can't wait, guys. Cheers. Love it. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right. See you, man.
See you later. From Proud Souls Barbecue.
Yep. That was a fun one. I enjoyed that one.
Oh, man. Dude. I think we just only hit the tip of the iceberg with that.
We'll definitely have to have him on. I think there's so much we just kind of brushed over, and sometimes it's good enough for some, guests that, we talk to, and other times there's just so much more that they do. Sometimes they're more than just a comp cook. They own a whole store. That, it's just cool to get the insides and outs of that. So we'll have to have him back on and talk about like products and stuff. We won't do enough of that, I don't think.
We need more products.
Like talking about certain cookers and how to use them and all that stuff, and just differences between cookers. We don't do that enough.
Definitely. I think we should do that.
We were going to have the guy from the old Hickory come on.
Oh, that's going to be a big one.
That'd be fun. Stuff like that. We should do more of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, guys, if you want to find us, you can find us at the pitmasterspodcast.com. You can follow me at the Pitmasters Podcast on the socials.
Yep.
You can follow me at Salt City Barbecue, and that's barbecue spelt out with a C. And you can follow Anthony at Smoking No Joke on all those social medias as well. Guys, we appreciate your time and hanging out with us, and we will see you soon.
Leave us a review.
Do that as well. See, on Spotify now.
Right. Oh, you can. Yeah. Well, who's going to leave the first review on Spotify?
Yeah, who's the guy going to be?
We'll read it next time. As soon as it pops up, we'll read it.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Peace.